Every day I do a thought for the day. It started off simply as a test of the system. And I thought, well, I'm going to test the system. I might as well make it useful. Therefore, I'll look up in some of my books here and find a thought for the day. And I've pretty well been going through this one, positive quotes for every day. And then after a few days, the system was fine. So I thought, well, I might as well just carry on with that. Well, today I did my thought for the day, and then I replayed it, or tried to replay it on Facebook, and nothing came back. And I tried 3 times, and then I went and got my iPad, and lo and behold, it was playing on my iPad, but not on my computer. Hello. Problem was, of course, the system had switched from the regular speakers I use to some that aren't working, and I wasn't getting any sound. It was recording. It was recording sound and vision, but I wasn't getting anything back on my computer. So, hey, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The other reason I'm late is I had to rush around to try and get some cough and expectorant medicine for my wife because she was coughing all last night and she's coughing today. And then finally she decided she would like some medication. Of course, the doctor's closed, so I went out and got some. So there we are. All right. So having said all that, I looked at the reading for today, and it's okay. It's a good reading. It's kind of technical, like most of them, spiritually technical, like most of them this month. So I looked at Murphy's Dogma, which I read a short while ago, but at the beginning, there's actually in the letters to the editor, there's actually 4 letters in there which supposedly are from people responding to Murphy asking for some stuff. So I'm going to read you one of those afterwards. Just kind of lighten it up a bit. Okay, so hang in for that. First quote, it's called Releasing Parent Thoughts. And the first quote, once again, is from Frederick Bales. And I'm not going to tell you any more about him because actually David Alexender does. He said, I walk in a path of right action, both when I'm thinking of it and when I'm not. I walk in a path of right action when I'm thinking of it and when I'm not. And of course, what he's saying there is, hey, I've done my spiritual work. So my subconscious mind is actually helping me and it's not working against me. And Ernest Holmes in Observations, I don't know that publication actually, he says, instead of looking at our problems as things difficult to solve, we should look on every problem as but an added possibility, an added opportunity for self-expression. And that was on page 18 of Observations. I gotta say that's easier said than done. It's good advice, it's great advice, but it does require that you actually have got to have done some work to get to the point where you can actually do that, because it's simple, but like a lot of things that are simple, it's not easy. And here is Reverend David Alexender, who says, in the 1950s, Science of Mind teacher and author Frederick Bales wrote, Hidden Power for Human Problems. Early in the book, he observed that despite the variety of challenges people brought to him, worry, anxiety, relational strife, fear, the roots of the challenges were strikingly similar. He called them parent thoughts, the inherited mental patterns that feed human suffering and perpetuate the illusion of separation. Yeah, I do have stuff to say on this. There's a lot of stuff in our subconscious minds that we didn't consciously put there, that we inherited it, as he says here. Where did it come from? Well, it came from lots of different places. Some of it's probably inherited from generations back. A lot of it's from our parents, from teachers, from siblings, from classmates at school, from authority figures of all sorts who put a lot of stuff in our heads. And I know the priests and the nuns and my mother and other people put a lot of stuff in my head. A lot of it was good, but a lot of it I had to spend a lot of time getting rid of because it didn't serve me. So these parent thoughts, it's not our fault that we've got them in most cases. Then he goes on to say, this reminds me of the Buddha's 5 hindrances: attachment to desires, attachment, ill will, sloth and torpor, which he actually says you treat as one called hindrance, agitation and doubt. He says these universal obstacles are not personal failings. They're the shared atmosphere of a dualistic world, spirit versus matter. We are born into them like children in a communal sandbox, playing among beliefs handed down for generations. They're not truths. They're conditioned concepts saturating the collective human experience. So besides our own personal conscious mind, there is a group human subconscious mind that we've talked about. And we get a lot of stuff and we get a lot of influence from this because we're part of it. You know, Freud came up with the idea of the group, of the personal, individual subconscious mind, and then Carl Jung, who followed him, came up with the idea of a group human subconscious mind. And Freud never agreed with him, but of course, nowadays it's probably accepted as actual fact. And then David says, I often picture a vast communal swimming pool where we all splash around in restlessness, yearning, fear, and doubt. Now, these parent thoughts are handed down through domestication, not because we're bad or broken, but because humanity has long been steeped in forgetting its true nature. So he's saying not just individuals, but a big proportion of the human race has forgotten that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. He says spiritual practice offers a way to climb out of the pool, or to at least stop thrashing in it. With awareness, forgiveness, and gentleness toward others, we begin to see these patterns for what they are: learned reactions, not ultimate reality. We can curate environments that help us remember who we truly are, releasing the inherited weight of fear and judgment, thought by thought and breath by breath. He's saying, do your spiritual work. The affirmation, I rest in the truth of wholeness and love. Hey, you can't get beyond that, right? I rest in the truth of wholeness and love. But going back to the science of mind here, I am going to for those of you may or may not have missed it, or may have missed it, Murphy is theoretically, he's called Murphy the Human Whisperer. Bob Lukin, his person, I guess, writes as if he were Murphy, and he writes it theoretically from a dog's perspective. Murphy had asked for responses to some questions, and he got a bunch of them. One of them is from Lindsay Alana, who says, Hi Murphy, here's my list of most valuable and important gifts: kindness, compassion, intention, love, loyalty, family. Nurturing, smiling, laughing, enjoying life, gratitude. Feeling deeply connected, self-compassion, self-forgiveness, and forgiveness. So that is actually what I'm going to end with today. So I thought I'd end up on a kind of bright note. Okay, so I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully this time at 5 o'clock, because I am not going to tempt fate by saying it looks like nothing's going to interfere with that, because things do. But I will be back as close to 5 o'clock Central Time tomorrow evening as I can. Reverend Lisa, who's much more faithful to her time than me, will be back around about 9:15. And assuming Daniel is back in full vigor, she will be doing a midweek meditation, which I guess is probably going to be about Thanksgiving. And I assume Thursday's reading that I'll do will also be about Thanksgiving. So I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day. I wish you all a wonderful day tomorrow. And I will talk about Thanksgiving when we get nearer the time. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, namaste.